The internet loves a charming villain, but what happens when the charm starts to crack? For years, Ryan Reynolds has been Hollywood's golden boy, sarcastic, self-aware, and impossible not to like. But behind the scenes, the people closest to him are painting a very different picture. And now, Hugh Jackman, the man we thought was his ride-or-die bestie, seems to be stepping back and possibly getting ready to spill everything. It all starts with an incident so petty it's hard to believe, unless you've been paying attention to the pattern. According to an insider, Reynolds once threatened to destroy a makeup artist's entire career simply because she wasn't available for reshoots. She was working on another project, completely normal in the industry. But Reynolds allegedly snapped. The threat? If you don't come back and do my makeup, you will never work in Hollywood again. Just like that, someone's entire livelihood hung in the balance because of one man's ego. Even Fox executives, frustrated by his behavior, were forced to cave in because Reynolds had taken over creative control. The power trip was real, and apparently, it wasn't a one-time thing. Now enter Hugh Jackman, a longtime collaborator and one half of the Reynolds-Jackman frenemy bromance fans adored. For years, Hugh played along with the jokes, the social media jabs, and the feud narrative. But according to people close to him, Hugh isn't laughing anymore. Behind the scenes, he's reportedly fed up. And the biggest twist? He might be forced to testify against Reynolds in a brewing legal battle involving Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. If this case goes to trial, Hugh's testimony could blow the lid off everything because he's seen it all, and he knows exactly what Reynolds is like when the cameras aren't rolling. One of the clearest signs of Reynolds' obsession with control comes from what happened after Deadpool exploded into a global hit. The original director, Tim Miller, didn't return for the sequel, not because of scheduling conflicts, but because Reynolds allegedly made the environment unbearable. Miller later admitted that Ryan wanted total creative control, something he wasn't willing to fight over. Translation? Working with Reynolds wasn't worth the success. And when a director walks away from a franchise this big, that's not just a red flag, it's a 5-alarm fire. And then there's the nice pool mess, an in-movie jab that fans believe was aimed directly at Justin Baldoni. On the surface, it looked like just another edgy Deadpool joke. But behind the scenes, insiders claim Reynolds used the character to mock Baldoni, all while Hugh Jackman, as Wolverine, had to play along. Sources say Hugh was deeply uncomfortable with how the movie was used as a platform for personal attacks. But with Reynolds running the show, Hugh had two choices: go along with it or risk being pushed out. That's not collaboration. That's coercion. Reynolds' alleged toxicity didn't stop with directors and producers. It extended to his co-stars, too. Take Morena Baccarin, who played the love interest in Deadpool. She was noticeably sidelined in the sequel, barely featured in marketing, and had her role cut down dramatically. And according to crew members, that wasn't an accident. One insider claimed, Ryan thinks she's overbearing, so she's basically grounded. In other words, disagree with Reynolds, and your screen time disappears. That's not just petty, it's professionally damaging. But few people have been as blunt as TJ Miller. In a podcast interview, Miller didn't hold back. He described Reynolds as genuinely mean, not in character, but in a personal, humiliating way. He even recalled a moment on set where Reynolds, mid-scene, turned to him and said, "You're not the star. You do just enough exposition to be funny, then we can move on to the real movie." In front of the whole crew, TJ summed it up perfectly. "I would not work with him again." That kind of public belittling isn't just awkward, it's abusive. The more you dig, the more ex-friends seem to be piling up. Remember when Jake Gyllenhaal and Reynolds were inseparable? They did press tours together, joked around constantly, and acted like besties. But now, Jake won't even mention him. In a recent interview, when asked about Reynolds, Jake shut it down completely. Cold, detached. It's the kind of reaction you don't fake unless something went seriously wrong. And it doesn't stop there. Rebecca Ferguson, Reynolds' life co-star, spoke about a nightmare experience with an unnamed actor who constantly belittled her in front of the crew, leaving her in tears. She never dropped a name, but the timing, the project, and the other cast members paint a pretty clear picture. And let's not forget the women who knew Reynolds even more intimately. Scarlett Johansson, his ex-wife, once described him as passive-aggressively jealous. Alanis Morissette, another ex, released a whole album inspired by their breakup, with lyrics all about insecurity, manipulation, and emotional damage. One line stood out in particular: "If I just say it's true, I'm unbelievably insecure, really broken, then I can move through it." It doesn't get more revealing than that. There's a theme forming here. Over and over again, people who were close to Reynolds have described him as insecure, controlling, and deeply threatened by anyone who might outshine him. His marriage to Scarlett reportedly unraveled as her career took off. Then he married Blake Lively, who was still trying to transition out of Gossip Girl at the time. Not exactly direct competition. And now, both Ryan and Blake are facing heat over how they treat colleagues, especially Justin Baldoni, whose legal fight with Blake might end up dragging Ryan down too. As for Hugh Jackman, the man caught in the middle, he's quietly trying to move on. After his 27-year marriage ended, he's been seen with his Broadway co-star, Sutton Foster. But even that relationship has sparked speculation about whether it's genuine or just a distraction from the drama. What's clear is that Hugh wants nothing to do with Reynolds' games anymore. The bromance is dead, and the mask is slipping. Now, with a possible deposition looming and more insiders stepping forward, Hollywood is watching closely. The guy who built a brand on self-deprecating humor and lovable sarcasm is being exposed as something very different behind closed doors. Ryan Reynolds might still be a household name, but if even half of these stories are true, his days of unchecked influence may be numbered. What do you think? Is Ryan Reynolds finally being exposed for who he really is? Or is this just another case of Hollywood gossip gone too far? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for the latest tea. Trust me, this story's just getting started.